Elliot Friedman, on his recent 32 Thoughts article, revealed the Habs and Kent Hughes trade plans for Xhekaj Allen. We got to get into that. Plus, another insider, Darren Dreger, says that he believes Josh Anderson and David Savard could be among the top candidates to get moved at this trade deadline. I know it's surprising. We got all of that, plus a bit more about Slafkovsky coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into the video, a reminder, guys, that thousands of you, over half of you watching this video, are not subscribed. And hey, we got daily Habs content. If you want to stay up to date on the latest Montreal Canadiens news, this is your spot, so hit the button down below. Jesse, let's start with Juraj Slafkovsky, and this is amazing, right? Of course, Slafkovsky, he's the talk of the town right now. There's videos coming out from all kinds of people on YouTube, people talking about it all over Twitter or X, Facebook, whatever it may be. The love for Slafkovsky is crazy, and we got just some more good news about him. And as Eric Engels tweeted today, 25 minutes ahead of practice, here's Juraj Slafkovsky working again with Dr. Schott. Cayden Guhle was also taking reps. Slafkovsky just keeps doing the right things. He even said today how happy he is being on the team. It feels like him and Cole have a great relationship. And even Coach Marty, Jesse, in their press conference today, their media availability, he was singing the high praises as well. It feels like every time Slafkovsky figures out his league, he just gets better and better, whether it was in Finland, whether it was at the Olympics where he turned into an MVP after being a fourth liner, or in the NHL. This guy it really feels like something special.
Well, he is called Jesus of Montreal in Slovakia, just to let you know how big he is over there. Seems like a perfect fit for the Montreal Canadiens at St. Planel for sure, But that's it. Juraj Slafkovsky, as we know, he loves two things. That's clubbing and scoring goals. We saw him tonight at practice, working on his one-timers again, right? And Marty would kind of ask, he said, yeah, basically like Slav's development has been incredible. And it's hard to say whether it would have been better for him to go with the AHL or kind of stick in the NHL now, but whatever path it kind of went on, he's doing great now. So that's what it's all about. And he kind of said like, okay, where's Slav at right now? Like, what's the next thing for him to work on? And saying like, okay, first it was kind of getting in the right spots. And now that he's in the right spots, shooting more. So we see Slav kind of put in that work again, not resting on his laurels, which I mean, is really, really amazing to see.
And even Slav himself, when they asked him, like, hey, how did it feel? He said, well, it felt great. He said, I'm just gaining more confidence. And what's awesome is I feel like that has been one of his answers for pretty much anything he's done in this game over the past few weeks. He said, well, I'm gaining a bit more confidence. And you can see it. Every time he says it, you can see it physically translate to the ice. These shots, he's like, well, I hope it goes in again. And yes, it will, Slav. We're getting to the point now where I think, you see a lot of young guys come into the NHL and they're not sure when they should shoot, when they should defer to their teammates, because there's this sort of power dynamic, I guess, sometimes too. But I'm sure Slav has been encouraged since day one to shoot the puck. And now that he's finally doing it, he's getting the puck more. He's really putting good attempts on net. And Jesse, like you said, like, this guy just keeps improving, right? He keeps improving. Coach Marty's telling him, I want you to do this. He goes and does it, and he gets better. Clearly the Habs had a plan when they drafted him. They went to Slovakia. I'm sure they spoke to as many people as they could, because this drive and determination is not something that you find in almost any other player. And I don't know. I feel like we're rehashing the same stuff over and over about Slav, but I feel like it's worth it because every time we talk about it, he has taken another little step. And I can't wait to see what else he has to come in this season.
Well, that's it. And we're talking about it because he's just getting more of that respect, right? So his names are coming up more in conversations, and most importantly, getting that respect from your head coach, I find is really big. Like when Marty St. Louis wants you to shoot the puck more, I mean, you should probably listen. It's somebody that sees the game really well, but again, just putting that trust into him that he doesn't need to be this support, this kind of complimentary type of player on a line with Suzuki and Cole Caufield. Like this guy can be a main contributor. This guy, along with Nick and Cole, like in some ways in the future, I wouldn't be surprised to really see him taking the lead on this type of line. Now, of course, there's still work to be done, but Slav is doing it. He's in the practice. He's putting in that extra work, which is nice, right? Which is really what it's all about. And you got to feel if he does this and then he has this amazing attitude and then really good skills, it's a really amazing combination to have a really good hockey player.
Yeah, I can't wait. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about with Slav. We'll leave it there for now. Oh, I mean, just nothing but love for him. I can't believe how good he is turning out. But let's change course a little bit. We got to talk a bit about some trade deadline stuff, because I know that's what you all love. It's what we love talking about. And Darren Dreger was asked on Montreal Radio, TSN 690 today, about the Habs trade plans. A little segment called How Popular Are the Habs Ahead of Deadline Day? And he had a lot to say. We'll cover some of it in this video. We might cover some of it tomorrow. But Jesse, the big players that he mentioned, well, first of all, he's like, there's no way the Habs part ways with Xhekaj. Awesome. He said it's been relatively quiet on the Allen front, and we got some extra insider info coming up in the next segment of this video about that, so stay tuned. But the big names that he mentioned were Josh Anderson and David Savard. Let's start with Anderson, because that kind of surprised me that he even mentioned it. Like, I know we kind of mention him in passing sometimes, but to hear Dreger say Josh Anderson's name comes up this time of year every year, and he said straight up, he's like, he's not sure if it makes sense for the Habs to trade him, but if they get the right offer, I think they could do it. And it had me thinking, like, his name's probably not out there just for no reason. It could be Dreger just throwing a name at the wall. Maybe. But at the same time, like, if Kent Hughes can get off this contract, maybe, right, with his lack of production, we have lots of assets. We haven't really explored the idea of trading maybe some picks and maybe a prospect or something to get off the Anderson contract. Because obviously we don't want to do that, because ideally he's a better player. But I don't know. What do you think of that, Jesse? Maybe it's crazy. Maybe Hughes really doesn't want to do it, but it's starting to maybe creep into the realm of possibility.
No, definitely. That's it. And the reason why Josh Anderson's name is coming up is because the last time the Habs were in the playoffs, Josh Anderson was a very good playoff type of player. It seems like his game kind of sparks up. Maybe his game is just well suited for that, you know? So if it's not really at this trade deadline, I do believe a move will be done this offseason. Probably a greater likelihood, you know, of that kind of happening there. Just the writings on the wall, right? Where, you know, we picture him as a top 6 guy for the Montreal Canadiens. And if he's not really taking that spot, you know, he's almost taking a spot of somebody we'd want to kind of develop in our bottom 6. So it's just this weird sort of balance right now. But I think, you know, it's kind of been there for a while where we can start to tell now that he's not going to fit into the team's plans for the future. It's really unfortunate just because he has so many skills, seems like a great team guy, great person and everything else. But the Montreal Canadiens are going to need to start making some very key decisions of how they're going to be filling out their top 6 in the very near future. So for me, that necessitates a Josh Anderson move very much in the near future.
If they can get something for it, like the idea of Kent Hughes getting an asset for that contract is almost insane, but you never know with Kent Hughes. But the idea of maybe giving up an asset or two, there's a ton of assets the Habs have, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm just going to throw that out there because I feel like a trade like that might come at some point. So I'm just going to call that shot right now. Don't know when. Not saying it'll be trade deadline. Not saying it'll be this offseason, but maybe at some point. It feels like he said he's kind of the guy. If you're better than Anderson, you're kind of a top 6 guy on this team, right? And that kind of feels like what he is right now. But anyways, yeah, this does suck to see. Really like Josh Anderson. Hope he can turn it around, but it is what it is. The final thing before we move on to the final topic, just a quick note on David Savard. Darren Dreger says it's quite possible, and he could be one of the big guys, basically citing, you know, the market, right? Look at the market. There's not many out there. I know we talked a bit yesterday about how the Habs probably want to keep him. Let's just do a final call right now. Do you think David Savard will be moved before the trade deadline? My answer actually is going to be no.
You know what, Josh? You're putting me on the spot there a little bit, you know? But to be honest, like, he's going to have a lot of value. So if we're going to get something back, if Kent Hughes gets offered a first-round draft pick for David Savard, I believe that he does that deal. You know, if not, then he's going to wait on it because we know Kent Hughes, he's never going to come desperate to the business table. He knows what his price is, and he's really going to stand pat, you know, on that. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see. And I know, like, with Allen now, I'll throw the question to you. Okay. Let's say we're retaining half of Allen's salary. What pick are we then getting for Xhekaj Allen?
I'm gonna say 3rd round pick. I think even with half retained, I think a 3rd. I think there might be a team that offers a 2nd, but I feel like that's tough to say. I'm gonna call 3rd just to be conservative, but actually that transitions well into what Friedman said, and actually pretty much everything you said transitioned well into what Friedman said. You said Kent Hughes is standing pat with his idea, and this is kind of a big thing that Friedman dropped, and we got there's Woj bombs in basketball. Well, we got F bombs in hockey. Elliot Friedman dropping a bomb saying that, you know, Kent Hughes has his plan. He has set a price, believed to key on a draft pick, but like John Gibson, that varies depending on the retention. There's now a book on Hughes. When the Canadiens rebuild, he's content with setting a price and waiting until he gets what he wants. Remember, Allen has a partial no trade, and I think that no trade clause can really factor into this, Jesse. So I think there might be a team that offers a 2nd, but again, if there's a team that Allen wants to go to, maybe a team that's on his no trade clause he's willing to waive, or a team that's not there, I think a 3rd might be what the negotiations will come down to. But I don't know. Like, looking at what the Smith got, I mean, you got Pearson, which is kind of a bad contract in a 3rd. There might be more to this than I'm thinking, but that's pretty much what I'm settling in on.
And the longer we wait, you got to feel like the bigger return we're going to get. There is definitely a lot of teams looking for a backup. A lot of teams, you know, so there is a market, right? It's definitely the seller's market right now. So I think that's definitely going to help Kent quite a bit. I mean, as long as we're still kind of under this cap crunch, as long as we're in this rebuild, draft picks are still going to be valuable. And I know sometimes we maybe want a little bit more, but I think for right now, just getting the draft picks to kind of, for Kent to really kind of author the financial future of this team is going to be big, So I think that, while it's not ideal, definitely it's not the end of the world, but I do see a move being done by the trade deadline. I do see an Allen move being much more likelier than a Savard trade. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think Savard, it has a lot more importance to this team right now than Jake Allen, even though obviously he's still a very important part of this team. Just we have those 3 goalies. We don't have so many vet, right-hand defensemen. But I think really, in the stage where we're at right now, if we're going to get the right price, if we're going to get Kent's price, he's going to make that trade.
Yeah, I think we're on board. Like, I think having 3 goalies for the rest of the season is just not a great idea. Now, would it hurt the Habs horribly? No, but I think if you can get off it, it makes sense. But like Friedman just revealed, he's like, nah, like Kent Hughes is honed in on a draft pick. And like we know, if he doesn't get what he wants, he's not going to go making that trade. And at the same time, like, what's also wrong with holding on to them for the last 30 games of the season, whatever it is, and then just putting the for sale sign back up? Like, I saw a comment online saying this, put the for sale sign back up at the draft or a bit after the draft, a bit into free agency. Same thing maybe with Savard, right? You got Allen, Savard, guys who are then on expiring deals. Do you think that might be in the back of Kent Hughes' mind? Sort of like, well, if I don't get what I want now, I got no qualms waiting until maybe the offseason or maybe even into next year.
For sure. It's the Kent draft day special. I think we're going to get used to that almost every year. We know Kent's going to be busy talking, making moves, making phone calls, everything else like that. He really knows the time to do it. I mean, when you're a rebuilding team on draft day, that's the day to be making these moves, So I definitely expect to be Kent be really active. I think we're now getting a really good idea of who's going to be part of really this core future of this team, this identity. I think it's important not to waste too much time of really starting to get to that sooner than later.
Yeah, get the team identity in there. That's why we're rolling with this first line now, right? There's a lot, because a lot of the guys on the team now are going to be around in the next number of years when we're going for contention. Well, Monty's here for at least 3 more. You got Suzuki and Caufield locked up. Guys like Guhle, Slaf. A lot of the core is there. So I think you're very right. I think this trade should come. I do think a Jake Allen trade is going to happen before the trade deadline because I think a team will give Kent Hughes what he wants. But what do you guys think? Let us know down below. What do you think about Friedman's report saying that Hughes is pretty much honed in on one thing, and if he doesn't get it, I mean, that's kind of his MO. We might be waiting till the draft. We'd love to hear from you. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing 11,000 subs now. We would love to hit that goal. So we're less than 500 away. So if you can help us hit it, we'd really appreciate it. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.